Here we go. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for letting me video this speech and send it to you. My name is Jeff Goldberg, and I am brokenhearted that I can't be among you, but I hope this speech finds you well, comfortable, and not stuck in traffic. This morning I started out at 6 a.m. to come and join you, and by 11 o'clock I still was 50 kilometers away, stuck in traffic, and the Google Maps told me that I was still 2.5 hours away, which it had been telling me for the 3 hours before that. Thus, the mental health game began in the car, and the drip, drip, drip of traffic was driving me a little bit mad. So we had to turn around because, unfortunately, I have things that I need to do here in Bandra today, and I appreciate you allowing me to now send you this speech. But I think mental health, without a doubt, is the single most important issue facing us as individuals, as societies, and as a race, the human race. It is an issue that affects every facet of everyday life, from work to family to everything in between. People are struggling. People are having a hard time. People don't know what's wrong with them, and sometimes they feel like they're white-knuckling it or just frustrated to the point of no return, trying their best to make it through the day. It's something we see in traffic. It's something we see in our homes. It's something we see with our colleagues. But it's not just about frustrations or anger. It's also about real psychoses, real issues that sometimes relate back to traumas experienced in childhood or adulthood, or perhaps even traumas that we ourselves are not familiar with, generational traumas. Mental health is a real issue that every single individual should be concerned about. It is a metric that every individual should be interested in learning about vis-a-vis themselves. Luckily today we live in a world where folks are starting to understand this, embrace this. Therapy is something that is welcomed and understood that could be very, very beneficial for folks to find some relief, some healing. But those are just first steps, and we are in early days. Of course, psychoanalysis, founded by Sigmund Freud, pioneered by others like Carl Jung and such, have been around for about a century, but in the grand scheme of the human experience, it's still relatively new. The human condition is one that as philosophers, artists, and others have tried to understand for time immemorial. Art on the cave walls often considered what it meant to be alive, and that tradition of questioning our existence and our wellness is something that continues to walk along beside us as a species and as individuals. I think that this question is even more important today as we emerge from the pandemic. Yes, I know the pandemic feels like it was a lifetime ago, but it wasn't actually. The pandemic was just 3 years ago as we started to climb out from what had been a terrible ordeal, not just being locked in our homes, not just being able to travel, not just being able to not see our loved ones, but also we were surrounded with a great fear, the fear of a disease that we could not touch, we could not taste, we could not smell. And in the early days of that experience, there was so much uncertainty about what it meant to contract that condition and what it would mean if we confronted mortality. Everybody was suddenly confronted with the questions of life and death. From the young to the old, everybody's life was put on hold. Now today we may look back at that time with a bit of nostalgia, like, the roads were less busy, and indeed they were. Perhaps you could smell the flowers on your street a little bit more. I know I could. But the truth was that those were scary times. And we as a society and as friends haven't really talked about it. We haven't really addressed it. We've tried really hard as we turned the page on the pandemic to get back to business as usual, to make things normal. There was this seeming obsession with the idea that things had to be normal, but unfortunately they're not. And the more we try to pretend that they are, the crazier we kind of feel. Now, I know the word crazy isn't really a term that folks should use, and especially such educated people as yourselves, but I'm not a professional psychologist or a philosopher. I'm an artist. I'm a filmmaker, a writer, a director, a playwright, a theater maker, and I'm somebody who works with the human condition from a very different lens than the ones that you folks do. And today's conference is very much about the idea of multi and interdisciplinary work. And as far as I can tell, that is not something that is important. That is something that is essential and required for our shared success. Because there is so much that all of us in the room you're in, and the rooms I'm in, and the worlds we work in can share. There's so much that we can learn from each other that it's absolutely fascinating. And conferences like this one are so important because they bring like-minded people with similar questions together. And as a team and as a unit and as a community, we find answers. The idea that our work is multi and interdisciplinary is an essential fact. It is a necessary fact. And it is one that is required for us to finally really begin broader conversations, interesting conversations that will allow us to find better solutions to help ourselves, our friends, our patients, and hopefully in some small way our societies. Now let me speak to you about what it means to be an artist and see mental health through the lens of being a filmmaker, theater maker, and an instructor of the arts. I work with actors all of the time, and the type of work we do is called method acting, which is about living truthfully between action and cut. And we ask actors to do something at first that might surprise them a little bit, which is to slow down, to be patient with themselves, to take out time, and to become introspective. And that word is so important because an explored life is an enriched life. An enriched life is a well-lived life. But as an actor, introspection isn't about just improving the quality of your life or your relationships, but it's also a necessary tool to help you tap into the skill sets and tools that you're going to need to put out a performance that is both engaging, believable, relatable, and has emotional connectivity for the audience. Without performances like that, the arts fail to succeed at their main goal, which is to agitate thought, to agitate question, to agitate change. The arts were never intended to be followed and liked or positive quite the way that social media or mass communicable arts like popular arts intend to be. I understand the arts are expensive. I understand those who work in them are very privileged to work in them. And yes, we do have to sell our wares at the marketplace. But art at its core is designed to reflect back at humanity something essential. And that agitation and that question does not always have to be positive, and often it will not be. It just is intended to help us see ourselves a little bit differently, help us to see ourselves with a little bit of distance. So in the arts, what we ask people to do is role play, to introspect, to reach inside themselves and find something meaningful that they want to share, to take that question mark that they already feel inside themselves, that desire and passion to express, and put it out there for people to see. It is a way to tap into something real, but safely express it in a character, to place that passion into the story, because often it is very hard to do that in the real world because we fear being judged, we fear being criticized, we fear so much because societal norms demand that we don't share our emotions. And one thing that I often say to my students is this: isn't it funny how so many things you've learned in school, from math to science, are not things that you can even remember? But the things that you remember are the ones that you're passionate about, emotional about. Isn't it fascinating that the one class we don't have in school is the one we need the most? Emotions. Now, certainly no one can teach you how to love, how to feel anger, how to feel joy. The experiences of your life will do that. But how to feel them and experience them in a healthy way. Now that is something we need. And conferences like this one, people like you, are the pioneers in this world. You are the people who are going to have those conversations. You are the people who are going to be on the receiving end of that. And that is so unique, and you are so absolutely special for that. And I cannot believe, and I cannot say from a more profound part of myself how truly grateful I am to know that there are practitioners, theoreticians, thinkers, and professors like yourselves who've come together today to think about these things, to discuss these things, to embrace these things, and allow us to see ourselves through a different lens. I use that term lens very specifically and often because I think that perspective is a huge part of how and what we become. Everything passes through the prism of our experiences. Mental health is designed to help us reflect on those experiences in a healthy way. And as we emerge from the pandemic, and as we become trailblazers in this field, I look forward to reading your papers, hearing your talks, and learning from you about what we can do to be better, to enable our friends, our colleagues, our students, our patients, our societies, our countries, and our species to become more healthy. Because the fact of the matter is that apart from the traffic that snarled my trip to visit you all today, it doesn't take much to see that something is profoundly wrong. Wars are raging, children are starving, wealth is being transferred to massive pools taken away from the regular people. Something is wrong. Something is wrong, and we all know it, we all feel it. And that foreboding feeling is scary. It is frightening. And the best way forward is to shine a light. That light begins with mental health. It begins with you, it begins with us, and I hope it begins today. Thank you so much, once again, for allowing me to video this in. I cannot truly express to you how grateful I am to have been invited to be the keynote speaker of this particular event. When Bhagashri, my friend and colleague, spoke to me about this, I jumped on it because I knew that meeting all of you would be a special occasion for me. Unfortunately, our friends on the Western Expressway prevented that. But I invite you to reach out to me anytime you'd like. Through my studio, you are more than welcome to write to me, come visit me, and we can have a longer conversation. And to my friends, the organizers from the University of Mangaluru, you can be sure I will be visiting you. I often come to Mangaluru as a vacation spot with my family. It happens to be my favorite city in all of India. Not only do I love the city and the beaches, but dare I say it, it is the best food in India I have tasted. I absolutely love the cuisine down there. And I wish we could have all chatted about our favorite places today. I certainly know mine, where I get my dosas when I'm in Mangaluru. My friends, my colleagues, thank you. Have yourselves a wonderful day. And I look forward to hearing from you. And when I can get to Palghar, Mangaluru, the University of Mumbai, or wherever you are, I look forward to shaking your hand and chatting with you. Feel free to be in touch. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day.